friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. Today I'm going to have a simple how-to video. I spent 2 days trying to figure out how to record older consoles like the original Xbox and the PlayStation 1 and 2 with the new Hauppauge HD PVR-2, which works wonderful for doing, PlayStation 4 capturing at the highest resolution, as well as Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The problem is there's really very little information after scouring hours on the internet. I really couldn't find out anything in detail as to how to capture with this particular one. Now I know they have an older Hauppauge unit that had just component cables only, and for all I know that's very easy to record the older footage, but with these new ones where it's HDMI and it has an HDMI pass-through in the back, so as you're recording it goes right to your LCD or LED TV and you're able to capture footage. But the problem is it doesn't work. The HDMI pass-through, and it took me a while to confirm this. There was one other fellow that did a video with Hauppauge that said that the pass-through is really ineffective if you have component cables hooked up to it. So I went out and bought, for the original Xbox, I bought a set of component cables that plugs into the back of the Xbox, and then you get the breakdown of the right and left channels for audio here, and then you get the 3 color deals here. And I also have one that I bought from Radio Shack that has a set of component cables for 3 different units. The original early component setup for the Xbox 360 that came with component outputs, as well as, and then it has the optical audio as well. And then there's one for the Wii, which is cool, so you can record Wii footage. And then there's also one for the PS2, so it's kind of an all-in-one, and I paid like $20 or something for this one separately. So that way I can play my PlayStation 2 and my Xbox, and I did a video a while back on that, where I could play them on the newer TVs, which was awesome. So you don't lose the signal. When you use the composite, you have the right and left audio channels on a simple video RCA cable like on the PlayStation 1 or the Sega Genesis or anything else, the quality looks horrid on the newer TV. So the key is to switch to component cables when you can, and it works great. The problem is with this is, even though this came with a component breakdown, which is designed for capturing PlayStation 3 footage, and it's nice, it has a little button in the back. Make sure the button is facing down, and it has a little micro port, even smaller than an HDMI port in the back, and you plug into there, and then you're able to take your components like from the Xbox, and you just mate them up. The one with a little white tag on it is your audio left and right channels, and you just have to make sure you get your 2 audio channels, and the very ends of them you can see the colors. You see red to red, white to white, and the same thing with the little pigtails here. You put your green, red, and blue, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a done deal. Now if you're doing composite from, like, let's say a PlayStation 1, a Super NES, regular NES, Sega Genesis, then what you do is you just take the 3 here and you go the same deal. You go right with the red to red on the audio, left and right channels, and then you take the yellow and you only use the blue, and you put the yellow into the blue, and then just make sure that when you're on, the Hauppauge comes with its own software, but originally it came with a disc that has the ArcSoft software, which I find works the best. There's a new driver download and a new download for a whole new display that you can operate through Hauppauge, but the bit rate, it can't handle the high bit rates as well. So if I use the original ArcSoft, I can crank it all the way up to 14,000 on the bit rate, and it works great. But you have to make sure, like in this situation where you just have composite, you go into your ArcSoft software under the capture screen and make sure that it's set to composite. It automatically knows that it's line in on the audio with RCA cables. If you're going to go component, then you'd plug this into component for the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox, plug all these in, and then make sure on your capture screen on the ArcSoft that it's set to component. Then if you're using Xbox 360 or PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, something like that, you make sure that it's on HDMI in and that the audio is on HDMI. So it's fairly simple. The problem is that the HDMI pass-through didn't work. So when I went in to play, initially I hooked everything up, and I went to play Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. I was so excited. I go, good, I finally get everything all hooked up. And I could see the capturing on the capture screen on my PC. I could see the gameplay of it, but nothing on the TV, and I couldn't figure it out. You'd see the image for like 1.5 seconds, and then it would go black again. So it's very finicky and temperamental. And I did a lot of research, and there was one other fellow that had done a video that said that the HDMI pass-through is kind of screwed on this and doesn't work with the older consoles like the Xbox or Super NES or Sega Genesis. So what he recommended doing was getting some RCA split cables, where it goes from one cable into 2 cables for RCA, and then you can just branch out. So then you plug one set into here, and then the other set goes into the component breakdown in the back of your TV. That way you just bypass, you just leave this HDMI out port out completely, and you just go straight in, and you see it instantly. Because you have there's a few seconds of a slight delay between what's going on with the actual game as you're playing the game and then capturing it. It takes 3 to 5 seconds, and all of a sudden you see the image and you hear it on the screen. So I'll turn down my audio on my PC, and then I'll just turn, and then I play right at my desk here. I've got a TV set up, and I play the game with the audio cranked up, and then I get it instant. I mean, I can play the game flawlessly and capture it at the same time. But the key is to break it down. Now, I couldn't find the little splitters I found were just a few inches long. They weren't long enough for me to reach to my Hauppauge as well as the back of the TV. So what I did is I went to Radio Shack and I bought, it's called a component video distribution amplifier. So you can put all your inputs into this. So you take your Xbox and you just plug them into here. So you've got, let me find my right, here's my left and right channels. You're in here, you plug it in there. You leave the yellow one alone. Now if you're going to use composite only from your PlayStation, then the yellow one, I believe goes in this one here. But otherwise, you just use the red, blue, and green in there. And then you could have this virtually go to 4 different, TVs or units or whatever. And then I have another set. You also have to buy 2 sets of component cables, another couple sets of them. And I have one set that goes from one full row into my PVR-2, into these. And then I have the second whole set here that goes from there directly into the back of my TV that I'm playing the game on. And it has a small, there's also an outlet for a small power pack that plugs in. That keeps the signal amplified so you get a nice strong signal. So I paid a little bit more. I could have just got some cheap little splitters, probably would have worked fine. I could have bypassed this whole gizmo. But I found this was a solid way to do it. I get the strongest signal with the amplified box here. And it looks great. I can't believe it. So I've already captured Road Rash on the PlayStation 1, and man, it looks fantastic. I've had so much fun playing it. The quality is just as good as you could possibly imagine. I played a little bit of it on the PlayStation 2. I also hooked that up through the component cable setup, and I played Vice City. And man, does it look great. I was really impressed with the quality of PlayStation 2 games, via this whole setup. So it opens up a whole new world, having the ability to have the component breakdown. Like I said, this little pigtail comes with it comes in a bag with the HD PVR-2 from Hauppauge, and it's a great deal. It was designed for the PlayStation 3, but it works wonderful with the older consoles as long as you just eliminate this HDMI out port and just focus on having, finding a way to play it on the TV at the same time that it's being recorded in here. So I love the HD PVR-2. What's nice about it doesn't put any strain on and overwork your PC by having an internal, capturing card inside the PC. Everything is internal within here, so it takes nothing away from the PC, and the PC can focus on just the processing power of the capturing. So on my Asus AMD 10, I can crank that thing up to 14,000 on the bitrate all day long, and it works wonderful. Like I said, the original, they have a new Hauppauge download with the drivers and all that, and has its own screen. It has a setup where you can record your audio over your gameplay, but the problem is the bitrate can't handle a high bitrate. You have to turn the bitrate down to 10,000 or lower to record on it. So this has taken me a couple days to figure everything out, but I've had a blast playing the games. Again, I played, you know, the original Road Rash and have footage, and at the end of this I'll show a couple segments of gameplay just so you can see the quality. So I have the original Road Rash. Now technically you could play this on the PlayStation 3 as well and record it through the Hauppauge. But I wanted to see that if you could record it, you know, via the PlayStation 1 with composite cables on this one. I recorded some gameplay of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which I'll have at the end of this as well. And that I did through the component cables, because of PlayStation 2, you're able to take it all the way to a component. It looks great. And then on the original Xbox, I played a little bit of gameplay from Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green, which was the first game I bought for my original Xbox, as well as a little bit of gameplay, which I'll show as well, from Driver Parallel Lines on the Xbox, which is one of my favorite driver games, and it looks and plays fantastic. So I'm really happy to have this figured out. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. It's taken me days. I had very little help. I had a friend of mine, Mikey from Mad Max 09. This is his channel. I'll have a link to his channel in the descriptions below. And he was nice enough to steer me in the right direction. He said, dude, he said, it probably has a weak HDMI pass-through. You might just want to get some RCA cable splitters and go directly, you know, branch out, have one setup going into your PVR-2 and then the other set going right into the back of the TV. He said, I know you're not crazy about having all the extra wires, but that really is the best way to do it. And he was right. The only downside is you get kind of a rat's nest of wires, and some of my component cables I bought were 6 feet long, some were 3 feet long, so yeah, I just kept them kind of rolled up and tied up tight. But it works wonderful, and it's great that I can finally capture gameplay. This is like a dream come true for me, because I was, you know, had the camera before set up filming my Sony Trinitron, and you could see the scan lines, and it just looked terrible. So now I can finally get the gameplay that I've always wanted. I hope this helps you out. I hope if you have a Hauppauge HD PVR, they're fantastic. I find over the Elgato, the contrast and the picture looks a little bit better on this. Although I think you can get higher frame rates on some of the other consoles. I mean, on some of the other, you know, PVR or capturing devices. But this is a great investment for the money that you pay. You cannot beat the quality of the Hauppauge HD PVR-2. I've had the greatest of luck with it. So for those of you that have it, that maybe bought it for some of the more HDMI contemporary consoles, you can use it for these old ones, and it works great. But on the original Xbox, there's a setting in there where I think you can go from either composite to component, and there's also one for the PlayStation 2. On that one, you have a choice. It says component video output, and there's one setting that's RGB. You don't want to put it on that one. You want to put it's YCB/PB/CR/PB, whatever that is, some kind of a color component breakdown. Once it's on that setting, then you'll see it on your, you know, PC capturing screen as well as your TV screen, which is fantastic. So as long as everything jives and you have all your settings all set up, it's a beautiful thing, and you can capture wonderful footage. Now later when I get my Sega Genesis, and you know, I'm going to try to get a Panasonic 3DO and a Super NES, all I'll need to do is just switch it to composite, and then I can record wonderful gameplay of that all day long. The HDMI pass-through sometimes will work with some of those older consoles. The problem is you get a really bad ghosting on the newer TVs. So again, the hot setup would be the component cables, and then you can even play it on an old CRT TV the way, you know, it really should be intended to play those older games and consoles, which is cool. So anyway, I hope this helps you out. Thanks so much for watching. I'm really excited that I can finally, kind of a caveman with technology, but it's nice that I can finally get this thing set up and record, you know, my favorite consoles like the Xbox and the PlayStation 2. It's a dream come true. So thanks for watching, guys, and enjoy your games and retro consoles.